Hey guys, it's Laura. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some batch cooking. So I thought I would bring the camera around and let you guys see what I'm doing in the kitchen today. Sometimes I like to do batch cooking, especially whenever we have busy weeks and I know that we're going to be really busy. I like to try to just spend a couple hours in the kitchen sometime in the beginning of the week. Sometimes this could be like a Sunday evening or a Monday morning or even on the weekend, just anytime that I have a little bit of free time to kind of prep and prepare food and different meals for the week. So that's what I'm doing today, and I thought I would bring around the camera to kind of show you the different things that I'm doing in my kitchen. I want to thank Miracle for sponsoring today's video. I'll be talking more about them later on in this video. But for now, let's head into the kitchen and I'm gonna show you the different things that I'm cooking up this week. All right, so this first meal I'm doing is like a shrimp and sausage veggie sheet pan, but you see I'm not actually using sheet pans. I'm just using a few 9x13 pans. I feel like my sheet pans aren't big enough for our family, and I don't know, I don't have very good ones, and so I just decided to do this in a 9x13 pan. My daughter was with me at the grocery store and she remembered we did a shrimp boil with my sister and their kids for New Year's Eve this year, and she said, "Mom, let's do another shrimp boil." So she like went around the store and collected the sausage and shrimp and corn and potatoes and all the things. But I didn't really want to do a boil because I didn't have the right seasoning pack where we were at. They didn't have that, and it's also just, I don't know, it takes a little bit longer. I decided just to do the whole thing, but doing it more of a sheet pan. So I put corn on the cob, I cut up sausage, did frozen shrimp and red potatoes, put this all in several 9x13 pans. I put some oil on this, just some avocado oil. I dotted it with butter and put a bunch of different seasonings on this, some salt and pepper and some chili powder, just a lot of different things, and baked these. Now, going back, I should have did the potatoes and corn and sausage and then threw in the shrimp a little bit later, because when we went to eat this, the shrimp was a little overcooked. It wasn't bad, and this was a very quick way to make a lot of food, but probably putting in the shrimp more towards the end would have been a better idea. I just put it all in, tossed it in the oil, dotted it with the butter and the seasonings, and then stuck these in the oven to bake, and this made a very easy meal for our family. All right, the next thing that I'm prepping this week is a couple breakfast casseroles. This is something that I love to do. My husband asked me just this week, why don't we make these more often? Because they're so good, and it's just so nice because I can make several of them at a time, and then in the mornings just stick one in the oven to kind of rewarm back up while everybody's waking up, and then we have a hot, healthy, hearty breakfast. So for this, I browned some sausage and I added in some onions to kind of saute while the sausage was browning. And then I whisked together some eggs and milk, and then I shredded some potatoes for hash browns, and I put those in the bottom of my baking dish, and then put the sausage and onion mixture over top of the potatoes, and then put the eggs, the whisked eggs with the milk on top. Now I also did add in some salt and pepper, a little bit of Italian seasoning into this while I put it in with the sausage, and also some with the eggs. And then I baked these, and when they were almost done baking, I topped them with some cheddar cheese and then baked it the rest of the way. Now, we had these for a couple of different mornings this week. Very, very good. We served it with sauerkraut, and then we also made some sourdough pancakes because my family, all of us, eat a lot in the morning for breakfast, and so I wanted this to last for a few days, so I wanted to make some pancakes also, so then we had a nice protein along with our fermented sourdough to go along with this. All right, so now I want to take a little break and show you guys my new Miracle S3 Pro vacuum cleaner. Like I mentioned before, they are sponsoring this video, and this vacuum is awesome, so I wanted to share it with you guys. So one thing that I love about this vacuum is that all of the attachments fit perfectly onto the charging base. It's a self-standing charging base, so it doesn't take up a lot of storage and you don't lose any of the pieces. This vacuum has a floor brush that uses green LED lights, and I really like that because it makes it really easy to see in dark or low light places, like when I'm vacuuming underneath of the kitchen cabinets or under the couch. It also has a tangle-free floor brush, which is really important for us because me and my daughter lose a lot of hair. Apparently, every time I'm vacuuming, I'm always finding a bunch of hair in the vacuum. This would also be really good if you have animals in the home, because after cleaning the floor and the carpet, the bristles are not tangled at all. You could see that here. It's just nice and hair-free, which isn't typical after I vacuum on the floors or on the carpet with other vacuum cleaners. This vacuum is very lightweight, and it also comes with a furniture brush, and so I'm attaching that now with the hose, and you can use this on any hard furniture surface and even on wooden stairs, which I love because we have stairs going up and down in our home that come off our entryway, and a lot of times those get covered with dirt and leaves, and so it's nice to have an easy vacuum that I can take without having to drag around the whole big base or the cord to vacuum stairs. I also like to use this on my table and chairs because the kids spill crumbs there, and before I wipe them down, it's nice to be able to vacuum up the big pieces. When I was finished vacuuming, I just put this back on the self-standing charging dock, and like I said, all the accessories are here and I can just plug it in and it can charge, so then it'll be ready for the next time that I'm ready to use this vacuum. If you're looking for a new cordless vacuum, you can check out the Miracle S3 Pro vacuum with the link in my description box. All right, the next meal I'm going to be preparing is stew, and I'm doing a double batch of this in my Dutch oven. So I'm starting off by just getting my Dutch oven nice and hot and adding in the meat. I like to sear it just to lock in the flavor. It just really makes a difference. I feel like when I sear things first before, rather than just boiling it in the broth. I am chopping up some onions and potatoes for this, and then I have some organic baby carrots that I'm going to be using. One thing that I like to do when I'm batch cooking is I like to always make sure that I have the essentials on hand, like bone broth. I make a lot of soups and stews and things that have bone broth in it, and that is something that I also like to batch cook in one time. I usually do this in my Instant Pot, just putting in either chicken or pork or beef bones in my Instant Pot with a little bit of filtered water, some bay leaves, and making up a big batch of bone broth. So for this, I already had my broth made. So after I added in all of the meat and the vegetables, I added in the broth and a can of organic tomatoes, and I just let this simmer on the stove throughout the day to let it cook. I also added in some seasonings, Italian seasonings, salt, pepper, cumin, a little bit of basil, and then when this was finished, this was the perfect meal for our family. This did feed us twice. We made some cornbread to go along with this to kind of stretch it into a couple of meals. All right, now the next thing that you're gonna see me doing is I'm making sauerkraut. I always strive to have a fermented food at every meal, whether it be yogurt or sourdough or sauerkraut, and we are currently out of sauerkraut. I actually should have been making this a few weeks ago because it does take a few weeks to ferment on the counter, and so this won't quite be ready as soon as we want it, but just getting around to it today. So I'm just chopping up cabbage. I like to add salt to the cabbage to let it start sweating before I make the brine. It just makes the brine making part a little bit easier if you let it sweat a little bit first. I don't like to use a KitchenAid or any type of like food processor when I make this. It just, for me, I like to just chop it with a knife. We like it a little bit more coarse. It makes the ending kraut a little bit more crunchy, and that's how everybody in my family likes it. When I'm done, I just transfer it to some mason jars. I put in some glass weights to make sure that the cabbage stays below the brine. And then I have some sauerkraut lids that have the nipple on top so the juice can leak through. But you don't have to have those. And you see, I only have 3 of those, and I made 4 jars this time. And so I just put a lid on the last one and just put it on light, and then the juice can leak through just the lightly tightened lid. You want to make sure that you don't tighten it all the way, because then it can like totally blow up if it gets too fermented. I've had that happen before. We had glass, and actually the time I was doing coconut yogurt everywhere. So you want to make sure you put that lid on really nice and loose. And then I always put this in a 9x13 pan because it will continue to make more brine as the sauerkraut sits, and that will go all over your counter if you don't have it in a rimmed dish. So I just have it sitting here on the table in the 9x13 pan, and I'll leave it here until it's fermented just about 2 or 3 weeks. The chickens love sauerkraut making day, so do the bunnies. They all get a little bit of the outer leaves of the cabbage that I don't use when I make it, and also the cores. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video gave you some good meal ideas. As always, I have linked to the recipes that I use down in the description box below, along with the Miracle vacuum cleaner that I'm using to do all of my cleanup. I have a link for that so you guys can get that down there if you're looking for a cordless vacuum that works really well. It's definitely one that we like here in our home. And if you're looking for one, I'll have that link down in the description box for you as well. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. I get out new videos every single week.